Well, good morning, everybody. I am the Bald Guy. So thankful and grateful you are back with me as we start chapter 5 in Genesis. This is a genealogical account from Adam to Noah. Now, we're going to delve into some questions here. If you're like me, you kind of skip over this because, it's like, whatever. Let's just get to the good stuff. Well, this is good stuff too, and it's in here for a reason. And we kind of need to know. So first reason is, why is it in there in the first place? And there's some key aspects of why it is. And the main reason is to confirm the reliability of the Messiah. It's the whole point of why we put it in there. Because if you go back, and the second one is prophecy. Now, you have prophecies in the Bible that point to the Messiah. All the prophecies point to this Messiah. Who is he? Then the guy shows up on the scene, says he's him. Well, how do we know it's him? By lineage, by actual proof. Now, when Moses wrote this, we can undeniably affirm that this is dated back to the time of Moses. So therefore, we do know that this is true. So we know that the Messiah had to come from the line of David. And you lead the line of David down to Jesus. And if you backtrack, Jesus to David, David to Noah, Noah to Adam. So you see how that works. So we know for a fact that Jesus is the Messiah based on this record. That's one aspect. There are many others, but this is the one aspect, and this is why it's in here. And you can learn a lot of history through a genealogical account, because there's some details in there that's just amazing. How long they lived, how they lived, how they taught their kids. And I'm going to put up a chart that you'll be able to zoom in on and look at and kind of get this lineage. And through your mind, you can see how things went. Because later in chapter 6, we know that the whole world turned evil. How is that if we have where we left off with Cain's evil side and Adam's good side of this area? Okay, we have these two distinct areas that all these people are evil over here, and these people here are worshiping God, calling on the name of the Lord. What happens between then and then? What with all these generations? What happens? Well, same thing happens today, where people just got caught up in the world. And what I think is that they taught their sons how to follow God. And as our sons followed God, their sons and daughters did not. They moved away, became a part of the way of the world, and started living like Cain did, just doing whatever they wanted to. They stopped following the Lord. Their kids stopped following, and so forth and so on. So as these people died, their following the Lord died with them, and the population that started serving God was getting smaller and smaller, till eventually all that was left was Noah, who was teaching his sons. His sons were slowly turning to the way of the world too. So that's just the way it was. The way things happened. And it happens today, doesn't it? Honestly? Really? We teach our kids, and our kids fall apart, and then their kids fall apart, and it's crazy. So, the best we can do is what we can do. And that is continue to serving God and leading by an example. And his word will spread. And his plan will come true. And that's what happened here in the Old Testament. Even though it seemed like God's plan was falling apart, it actually was being fulfilled. It's kind of an amazing little twist. Satan here, he's thinking he's won. He has got the world in his hands, and all of a sudden, God, nope. Not happening. That's right. So that's why that chronological is so important, that we understand that Satan can't win. No matter how it seems that he is winning, he's not. He's not going to. God will fulfill that purpose. No matter how dark the world seems, there is hope. There was hope through Noah. And there's hope. During Noah's time, there was hope. Now there's hope with our Messiah, with Jesus. And if you are a follower of the way, Christian, however you want to call it, I don't like faith acronyms. I just say, hey, a believer in Christ, you are fulfilling his plan. That's right. You're going to fulfill it. God's plan is going to come true despite anything, anyone. Satan can't stop it. Yeah. So, now as we continue, we're going to kind of see this lineage of followers of God slowly start to fall apart throughout the generations. And if you look on this, Seth, he taught his son Enosh, and then Enosh taught Canaan and Methuselah, but they had many other children that slowly decided no, they started parting ways and doing their own things. Jared, they did the same thing. Then Enosh, and then Methuselah, then Lamech, then Noah. Lamech was the father of Noah. And you can also tell how long people lived. I mean, so, like, you got Adam. Now, Adam, he lived 939 years, folks. 939 years. Seth lived 912 years. Wow. Okay, so the first thing we got to realize is God's promise come true. Remember when and this genealogical goes back to history. Because remember what God told him, that if you eat of this fruit, you will die. Well, 939 years later, Adam dies. God keeps his promises. And it continued. Why did they live so long anyway? We only lived like 130. Well, God cut that years down as population grew. It wasn't needed to stay that long. I mean, God wanted to fulfill the earth with his children. So back then, they had to live a long time to populate the earth. But Satan he interfered with that and tried to stop it, turned the whole world evil, almost succeeded till God said, no, not happening. And so forth and so on. So you kind of see this kind of falling apart, but God's plan's still in effect. As each son, at least that son taught his son, and it kept going and going and going. So even though it seemed like the world was winning, actually God was. Ain't that amazing or what? All right, I see our time is limited, so when we come back, we're going to focus on our next aspect of Genesis 5 and and we're going to talk about the longest living man in Genesis 5. And that is an amazing story. And we will also talk about another one that God just took to heaven. That's right. There's only 2 people in history that God took to heaven, folks. And we're going to discuss one of them on our next video. So I hope you stay with me for that. It's an amazing little story. We will continue that later. Until then, I am the Bald Guy. I am out of here. Hope you learned a lot about this chronological thing. Remember, God's plan always happens, folks. He is the true God. Serve him, love him, because that's what he wants. That's what this whole thing is about. Loving God, serving God. Don't let the world get you, folks. Don't let the world get you. All right, I'm out of here. Love you.